All right, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode here on the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 3 gear ratios that you have to have as a bass fisherman. Now, I say 3, but in all honesty, you could probably get away with just having something in your 6 category and something in the 7 category. When I say 6s and 7s, I mean like 6'5" to 1s, 6'3" to 1s, 6'1" to 1s. I don't really think there's a huge difference as long as you're within the 6 category, the 7, or the 8s, which is kind of the exception that we're going to talk about here a little later on. So, starting off with the 6s. Now, the 6s are the gear ratio that I'm going to pick up anytime that I'm throwing a moving bait, whether that be a spinner bait, swim bait, crankbaits. I actually will throw deep crankbaits on a 6.3 and it doesn't wear me out at all. So all crankbaits for that matter, I'll throw on a 6.3 or just a 6 gear ratio reel. Main reason for that is because a 6 is extremely comfortable to fish moving baits on. Now, I don't mean comfortable like in the reel being comfortable, I mean the actual gear ratio itself. So if you guys have ever fished like a 7 gear ratio reel and have tried to fish a moving bait slow, you have to like crawl the handle at like a snail's pace, and it's actually really uncomfortable to fish that way. Same with like a 5 gear ratio reel. If you're trying to burn a bait and you're throwing a low gear ratio reel, you're gonna have to move that handle really, really fast to achieve the speed you're looking for, and it's extremely uncomfortable. So that's why a 6 gear ratio reel is that happy medium to where you can speed the handle up a little bit and get a really good, nice, fast retrieve, but you could also slow it down a little bit and get a slow retrieve and not have to reel it 100 miles an hour or at a snail's pace. So it's very, very comfortable to fish your moving baits with because you can vary the retrieve speed without having to do all this crazy stuff with the handle. So moving over to the 7s. Now, for the most part, I'm going to throw 7s with bottom contact baits and baits where I need to pick up a lot of line but also have a lot of power. Yes, I will throw some moving baits on a 7. Like if I have to burn a spinner bait or burn a crankbait, then yeah, I'll throw it on a 7 because it's not going to overwork me. I can move it pretty normal and get really good speed out of that bait. But like I said, mainly I'm going to be fishing this style of gear ratio, the 7, on bottom contact baits, frog, flipping, that kind of stuff, because you're going to be able to pick up a lot of line, but you're not going to lose power. You're going to be able to get them out of whatever they get in. A lot of guys like to flip and frog with 8 gear ratio reels, which is okay, but you're not going to have the same power that you will a 7 gear ratio reel. And personally, I think that a 7 gear ratio reel picks up just enough line. Like it's perfect for you to frog and flip with. That's another thing to keep in mind. If you're going to fish an 8 gear ratio reel, you have to know that it's going to be picking up a ton of line. So it's very easy for you to overwork bottom contact baits. And what I mean by that is when you go to reel up your slack, if you're not too careful and know exactly when to stop that reel handle, you're going to think that your bait is on the bottom sitting still when in reality it's inching forward or moving a little bit at a time, causing you to kind of overwork that bait. So something that you really, really got to keep in mind if you're going to be fishing your 8 gear ratio reels. So flipping, frogging, bottom contact stuff, I prefer to go with a 7. Now, where the 8 gear ratio reel falls into my fishing is for 2 applications. That being a topwater and a jerkbait. Now, when I say topwater, I'm not talking about fishing a topwater around cover like a frog. I'm going to do that with a 7. But open water applications, that's where I'm going to throw an 8. For whatever reason, it seems like when a fish eats a bait in open water, they like to run with it. Like, for example, I don't know how many fish I've caught on a jerkbait that come up from behind it, eat it, and swim at the boat super fast. Now, you already have slack in your line from twitching the jerkbait with the rod, so add a fish coming up behind it and swimming at you. There's a lot of line that you're going to have to pick up in order to catch up to that fish. So that's why I like an 8 gear ratio reel, because you don't need the power to fight that fish per se. You just need that line pickup to get to them and hook them. You're not really fishing around a whole lot of nasty stuff that those fish are going to swim in, so you don't need to force them or horse them out of anything. So that's why I really like an 8 for jerk baits. When it comes to top water, same kind of thing. They'll come up, take that top water, and start swimming 100 miles an hour one way. You got to be able to catch up to that fish and put the pressure on them to get those hooks in them. So that's really where I see an 8 gear ratio shine over a 7. However, you could still get away with a 7. You're just not going to have as good of a landing percentage because you're not going to be able to pick up as much line to get those hooks in the fish. But at the end of the day, as long as you have these 3 gear ratios, you're going to be able to do 100% of the fishing out there. If you guys like this content, go down, hit the like button, go in the comments section, tell me what you guys want to see. Tell your buddies about it, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.